7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is Saturday morning and I'm off from work today. Just got in my truck here this morning and it's about 10:30. I'm going to be actually heading into town. I want to grab my lunch because I'm going to be doing a ride in about 3 hours or so, and I'm going to see if I can beat my personal record up the Alpe Du Zwift that I actually set 2 days ago. Two days ago. It was actually the same day that the vegan cyclist went head-to-head against Cameron Jeffers up the Alpe Du Zwift. I was actually kind of got a notification on that when I was at work. Got a notification about that going on, and it just I was kind of feeling motivated. I said, you know what? I said I'm going to go up the Alpe Du Zwift when I get home later on tonight. See if I can beat my PR, and I was able to do that. I beat my previous PR by over 2 minutes. The other day, I went 39:11, I think it was. Held 307 watts for, the 39:11. And I've taken the last couple of days easy. Actually, guys, that was 3 days ago. That was 3 days ago because I've taken the last 2 days easy. Rode super easy last night, super chill, like 35-minute ride. So I feel good today, and I'm going to go after my Alpe Du Zwift PR again today. It's going to be hard to beat because I rode really hard the other day and I went well. It went well for me. But I'm going to see if I can beat that PR today, and I'm going to make a vlog about it. Which I'm hoping, the fact that I'm going to make a vlog about this will hopefully, give me a few extra watts, hopefully later on today. So I'm going to do a little vlog for you guys. Going up the Alpe Du Zwift, see if I can beat my PR. But right now I'm actually heading into town so I can... like I said, so I can grab my lunch. I like to eat about 3 hours before I'm going to do any kind of a hard ride. And this is going to be a hard ride. So I'm going to go head up the subway here in town and get my lunch. I do have to do a couple of errands that I got to drop off at the post office. Before I come home, I got to pick up some water. I got to pick up some basic groceries. So I'll pick those up at Walmart while I'm in town. So, all right, guys, it's a beautiful day here in New York. We don't have a ton of snow on the ground right now. It was cold this morning, but the temperatures are up into the low 20s right now. It's not that bad out, really. So, yeah, it's a good day to be off, and it's going to be a good day for an indoor training ride.
Fingers down my spine. Girl, you look mighty fine. Won't you rub your fingers down my spine? Girl, you look mighty fine. Won't you rub your fingers down my spine? Girl, you look mighty fine. Won't you rub your...
Hey guys, Cycle Jockey here. Just going to be doing like a audio overlay here on this Alpe Du Zwift effort I'm going to be doing now. You see here, I'm actually I did a jungle loop, a couple of jungle loop laps. I think it was like 1.5 laps as my warm-up. You can see I'm at about 23 minutes or so of my warm-up. Getting ready to take a right-hand turn here onto the Alpe Du Zwift. And just going to be basically kind of audio overlaying kind of what I'm thinking as I'm going up the climb. So, here's the right-hand turn here, getting ready to swing up the Alpe. Now, I'm going to be cutting over to some footage of me on the bike, and you'll see here as I get into the actual climb, just before I get to the start of the time segment, I'm going to click over to some footage of me on the bike, and you'll see that I get up out of the saddle. And just, one thing about the way I ride, whenever I'm climbing and really trying to put out a hard effort, I pretty much ride exclusively out of the saddle. And just seemed to go better that way from all the testing I've done in my own riding. Can just simply put out more power for longer if I'm out of the saddle. So we're getting ready to tackle the Alpe here. I'm starting to generate some power. I've actually just made the transition, getting up out of the saddle, and we are on to the time segment now. One major tip I could offer off the get-go is, now you see my cadence there is 60, up in the low 60s. Now I am in the biggest gear my bike has got. I'm on my Kestrel MXZ hardtail mountain bike, and I'm in the hardest gear the bicycle's got. It's got the SRAM Eagle components, so I am in the 32-tooth chainring, obviously 1x system, and I am in the 10, the smallest cog in the back, the 10 cog. And you see, like right now, in this first minute or so of the climb, I'm just trying to get to the cadence I want to ride at, which for me on this effort to try to do the PR, I wanted to dial in on that 58 to 59 cadence range. You see, I was a little bit above that early on in this climb because, I'm just hitting the climb with kind of, a lot of energy, a lot of anticipation. It's just easy. It's just, it's easy to kind of overshoot things early on. I was trying to guard against that because I knew if I put out too much of an effort early on in this climb, I would pay for it later on up the mountain. So I'm about a minute 25 in, and you see now I'm actually stabilized. I have stabilized to that 59, 58 to, say 58 to 60 cadence, which is where I wanted to be. And I was going to try to hover around that, basically 315 to 330 range on power. A lot of times it's difficult to go exclusively by the power just because there's a lot of variability within the power. Even though I've got this set to the 3-second power smoothing, I just personally find it easier to kind of monitor by cadence. So I'm pretty much using cadence here as my main metric for basing this effort. Now you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen there, just below the wattage, you're seeing a list of bends, and basically this is a great thing that Zwift has added to the Alpe Du Zwift. I'm not sure exactly when they've added it. It was a while ago. The last several times I've done the Alpe, I've noticed that basically Zwift lets you kind of see where you are in relation to your PR. Now you see I'm on the 21st bend, and I'm actually I actually got through there like 13 seconds ahead of PR pace. So this is a great way early on in this effort to kind of base myself, okay, where I'm at in relation to my PR, and I can kind of judge my effort accordingly. So I went through there 13 seconds ahead. I kind of know in my mind now, I've got a few seconds to play with here, depending on how I'm feeling. And at this point, I'm actually feeling really good. Now, you guys will see there, I'm out of the saddle. Cadence again, 58 cadence. A lot of guys would consider that, very slow cadence. And it might not look like I'm riding hard here, but, keep in mind, guys, I'm in the largest gear my bike has got. That's a big gear I'm pushing. I'm doing a hard effort here, but I'm feeling good in my sensations. So I wanted to kind of, keep the power on, so to speak, and see if I could maybe take some more time out of this 20th, out of this, sector number 20, I guess I'm going to call it. Zwift pretty much starts you from it counts the numbers down basically in reverse. You kind of start from the top, 20, from the bottom. It basically goes from 21 down to 0, down to 1 for the climb sectors. And I really like this addition that Zwift has added to the Alpe, with the giving you your PR. And you see here for this 20th sector, my PR that I did a couple days ago was 2:32. So now I know, I just know in my head from what I saw on the numbers last time through, I know that I'm ahead of pace here. Because, the last time I came through here, my power was in the lower 300s. I'm shooting up here, in the anywhere from 3:15 to 3:30, so I know I'm going to be ahead of pace. Getting ready to close down the 20th sector here. Now you guys will probably hear there. Basically, my setup for Zwifting, as you see, I got 2 fans going. Cooling is a huge thing with indoor training. You want to make sure you're staying cool. Now you see on this 20th sector, I got through here. Looks like I got through there 9, 8, about maybe 7 seconds ahead of my previous PR. So there's, another 7 seconds I've got to play with now on the rest of this climb. And so, again, I really like that feature that Zwift has added to the Alpe Du Zwift. Good, really allows you to pace your effort very well. Now back to my setup. You see, I've got my my iMac, off to my right hand side. I'm obviously filming the screen with my other camera, and I got 2 fans set up, which does a good job of keeping me cool. And I got my TV there. Basically, my TV is just in front of those fans, and you guys can probably hear a little bit of noise there in the background. Basically, what I do when I'm training is I just put on some YouTube music. I kind of got like a playlist, and I just put on some music while I'm Zwifting. Just kind of helps motivate me. So that's my basic setup for this. Now I'm on the 18th sector. My PR was just about was 101. Again, I mean I just kind of know internally here that I'm up on pace. Now my strategy, I guess, for today's ride. My strategy was basically try to get some time early on, and then just kind of try to hang on, so to speak, at the top if I could. And I did get through that segment about 2 seconds ahead of time. So I've gone through the first, 4 sectors or so, and I've taken time on every one. So again, what this is doing for me internally is this is just kind of motivating me even more now. I'm like, all right, I've just gone through the first 4 sectors. I'm the effort at this point. I mean, I'm 7 minutes in, starting to feel the effort a little bit here. I'm going to be honest with you, but knowing that you're up on every sector just kind of helps fuel the motivation. And I'm still focusing at this point on just trying to dial into that 59 cadence. Now you see. What I'm doing, you probably can't see, but what I'm doing in my pedaling technique is every time that I'm going to the downstroke, I'm trying to emphasize that downstroke. And what I have found in my own riding is I have found that if I emphasize the downstroke, I just seem to put more power to the pedals. So that's what I do, and I kind of just I kind of call it doing a mantra. What I do is I basically in my head now I'm just going. In fact, I'm going to do it while I'm riding here. In my head right now, I'm going 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and you'll see there that was kind of in rhythm with every time my foot was going to the downstroke. It's just something that I do. It helps kind of focus my attention on the task at hand, which is emphasizing that downstroke. Kind of relieves my mind a little bit off the effort. Again, I got through another segment ahead of time. I'm adding to my internal motivation, and again internally I'm just going 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and just that's just a mantra that I do, and it just helps me focus on my pedaling technique, because pedaling technique is a big part of being able to sustain an effort. A lot of being able to sustain a high power effort is having good technique over the duration of the effort. Now you see on that right hand side, I've been riding about anywhere from 5.3 to say 5.8 or so watts per kilogram this entire way. So I mean, I'm working real hard. It's a lot of times it's hard to tell. And one thing I've noticed here, kind of just watching myself with my cadence being so low, it doesn't really appear that I'm really going all that hard. But I can assure you guys, I'm going as hard as I can ride here, and I'm just concentrating on trying to hold that 59 cadence again. My mind internally again, I'm focusing on that mantra, the 1 2 1 2, and I'm looking at the cadence, and I'm just trying to hang on to the cadence. I'm not focusing on the power a lot. I'm obviously glancing up there every once in a while to look at, just make sure the power is on point. But I'm pretty much going off of my cadence, and I pretty much know if I keep cadence on point, I'm going to keep power on point, as long as I'm emphasizing the downstroke. So we're getting into the 14th sector, about 10.5 minutes in. You see him starting to get a little bit of grimace there in the face. Really starting to feel this effort, and I won't lie to you guys, at this point in the climb, I'm actually kind of starting to think to myself, can I make this? I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this or not. And you always, anybody who's ever tackled a hard climb like this knows what I'm talking about. You get into those points in the climb where your mind starts to wander. You start to think about, I don't think I can do this. And, guys, you gotta just try to block that stuff out and just focus on the task at hand. And that's why I use that mantra. I just find that it helps me kind of keep my mind from wandering to those negative places like I can't do this much longer. I'm 11:20 in. I know I've still got more than half of the effort left. And yeah, I'm in pain. I'm, really feeling it. I would like to kind of back off a little bit here, to be honest with you. But I've got a task at hand. I want a personal record this climb. And I'm just trying to focus on the things I have to do, which is keep my pedaling technique consistent and efficient, and just, focus on what I have to do to meet my goals. And you'll see on the right-hand side there, I'm now at about still about 5.5 watts per kilo. Trying to keep my power above the 300 mark. I pretty much knew coming into today's ride, based off how that January 2nd effort went, I pretty much knew that if I kept the power, above 300 watts the whole time, that I was pretty much almost statistically guaranteed to PR. Now, I think to this point in the climb, I think I've been ahead at every stage here. I think I've been ahead at every little interval. Now, you see I'm on the 13th sector. Looks like my PR was 225. So, now this is about the point in the climb where I don't lose time. I don't think I really lost time any place during the sector. Now, here's a good tip, too. You'll see I just got to a very steep section there, like 11-12%. And you see my power now just jumped up to 336, 330. On those steeper sections, when you get to above 10%, if you can, try to snap out a little more power. Because at the end of the day, if, on those steep sections, if you can put the power out on those steep sections, that's where you can make up seconds on these climbs. And then I'm not going to say back off, but if you could, maybe just go to a little bit more sustainable effort on the more shallower grades. See, I'm back to the 8%, backed off just ever so slightly. And it looks like I'm going to get through that 13th sector about 6 seconds ahead of PR pace. So again, this is just internally motivating me to continue. I'm thinking in my head, all right, I've got 12 sectors left. I've pretty much been up on every one. Yeah, I'm hurting, my mind's wandering. My mind's going to those negative places of, you can't keep doing this. But again, I've got that internal motivation of, gosh, I'm only literally about 15 minutes away here, 15, 17 minutes away from, potentially breaking my all-time personal record up this mountain. I'm going back to my mantra. I'm still focusing 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 every time, emphasizing the downstroke, knowing that it's going to help my power output. And we're into the 12th sector now. Looks like 130 was PR pace. Again, I'm not really, at this point, I won't lie to you guys, I transitioned more into a maintenance type outlook, because I'm not going to say I was in fear of blowing up, but I also knew that I still had about, I still had about 20, I got about 3 minutes left to go here. I'm still not even halfway up this climb. I know that I've got to pick and choose my battles here, and I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself, and if needed, just trying to go to a maintenance pace, which was basically my previous personal record. You'll see here the grade now is up to, we're back up to we were back up in the double digits. It closes down. Now the Alpe Du Zwift, it's a variable climb, it goes from, I think the average percentage is like 7%, maybe 7-8%. But as you guys can see, we're back to a steeper 12% pitch. But the grade's kind of variable throughout the climb. And again, just getting back to that tip I mentioned earlier, one thing I like to focus on when going up here is on these sections where it's a little bit less steep, like right now we're 7-8%, I will kind of just ease off ever so slightly and keep things manageable. And then when I see those double digits, that 10%, that 12%, that's when if I have the capability, that's when I'll kind of dig in a little bit and try to crank out some more watts. So I'm trying to basically use my wattage, so to speak. I'm trying to use the bulk of my big accelerations or big watt outputs on the steeper sections, and maybe again just going a little bit easier on the slightly less steep sections. Like right now, we're down to 4% grade. You see I'm down to 57 cadence. I'm easing off ever so slightly because my speed is still high here. My speed is 17 miles an hour. But because I'm 6% grade, I can kind of get away with being a little bit, less forceful on things and just snapping that little bit of recovery. On this climb, if you can even find, 4 or 5 places on the climb where you can snag even 30 seconds of just micro recovery, that can be the difference between, doing a good climb or not doing a good climb, or even blowing up on a climb or not blowing up on a climb. So, just things you want to think about when you're doing an effort like this. Now, you see I'm 17.5 minutes in now. Again, still dialed into that 58 cadence range. And we're in the 10th sector. PR pace was 142. Again, I'm still focusing on that on the downstroke every revolution. And you guys see I've been out of the saddle here the entire time. That's just the way I climb. Once I kind of dial into my pace, I won't. I could pretty much ride this. I could pretty much ride out of the saddle like this as long as I needed to. If this climb was an hour and a half long, and I was at a maintainable pace. I could ride out of the saddle for an hour and a half if I had to. I don't know. I just seem to have that ability to do that. Never have to sit down. And if I had to sit down, I could not output this power if I was sitting down. So now we're to the 9th sector. I didn't even notice if I went through sector 10 ahead of pace, but as I recall going through the climb, I was pretty much either ahead or at least on pace every time I looked at a sector. But again, at this point, I'm almost 19 minutes into the climb here. At this point, guys, it really just turns into just staying internally motivated and just mental focus. A 20-minute effort's hard, especially when you've been going hard for this long. Again, your mind wants to wander, and what I like to do is, again, just focus on a couple of simple things. Focusing on my mantra, my 1-2, 1-2 mantra, focusing on my pedal technique, and, you know, just kind of focusing on, okay, you know, where can I pick those moments to just snap that ever so slight recovery. You see, I just went to a 12% pitch and I knocked my power to like the 340 range here real quick. Again, every time I get to one of those steep little punches, if I have it in my capabilities, I'm looking to up the power output a little bit. And then when it eases off to, you know, anything under like 8%, that's when you can I find you can kind of get away with, you know, just ever so slightly trying to find some recovery. We're now into the 20 minute mark. Now, guys, I'm gonna walk you guys through the last 4 minutes here, but I kind of a spoiler alert. My camera actually stops recording just after the 25-minute mark, I think it was. Basically, what happened here is my memory card on my main camera there that you see in front of the computer screen, that main camera, the memory card actually filled up during the ride. I had a 32 gigabyte card in there. Thought that was going to be enough to get through the climb, but it wasn't. But anyways, so I did the climb footage here on the screen will actually only got about 5 minutes left. Because the camera card fills up, but anyways, I'm on sector number 8, and you know, again at this point, guys, it's 21 minutes into the climb. Won't lie to you, I'm not gonna say I'm into survival mode, because I mean I still don't really feel like I'm at danger of blowing up, but I just know I'm at the point in the climb where I got to start focusing more on kind of maintaining output here, as opposed to trying to take time. At this point, my focus is just don't lose time. I know I'm ahead of pace. I've been through ahead of pace on a lot of sectors below. I know now if I can just maintain what my pace was before on my last effort at this phase in the climb, then I'm going to PR. So I'm into a maintenance aspect here of my climbing now. You see my power has actually dipped to under the 300 watt mark a few times. Again, that's just because I'm just trying to find those little pockets where I can maybe micro recover a little bit. You see, when the grade kicks up to that 10% range, I kick back up to the 348 there for a second. Now it's back to 6%. Gonna just back off ever so slightly. See, back to 298, and now we're getting back up to 9%. So a lot of this at this point is just technique-based climbing. Again, got my mantra going. Again, this whole time, what you guys don't realize is this whole time in my head right now, like I said earlier, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's just my way of focusing on my pedal technique. Every time I hear that, every time I'm saying 1, 2 in my head, it's just saying, okay, focus on pedaling. And if I can tap out the rhythm, so to speak, according to that mantra, it just kind of keeps me on point at where I need to be. And like I said, it also helps to be like a little distraction from the pain and agony that you're going through on this climb. Now I'm 23 minutes in, sector 7, and you see PR pace was 136. I'd like to see if I got through. I don't know if I got through here ahead or not. Again, I think I pretty much maintained through this part. Again, my focus at this point in the climb was just kind of maintaining what my previous time was, my previous output was, and trying not to lose time, because it might be hard to tell there in the screen, but I'm obviously feeling the effort at this point. I mean, I've been climbing for 24 minutes at a pretty high power output, and do I get through here ahead? Looks like I'm gonna be right on my previous pace, 136. So that's kind of what I was doing here this last half of the climb, guys. Was I was basically just, I pretty much knew that I had to kind of be around 307, 308 watts to kind of average what I had done before, and that's kind of right where I was at. So now you see my watts per kilogram is actually just ever so slightly reduced down into that kind of sustained 5.2 to 5.3 range. Whereas earlier in the climb, I was up into at times I was up 5.7, 5.8. Obviously, a little bit of steam has left the engine, so to speak, at this point. I know in my head, I know I'm a little bit ahead of pace. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, I've got about 14 minutes to go here. I got about 14 minutes of suffering left, and if I can keep this up, I'll have a PR. Now, we're going to be getting very close to the point where the screen here is going to, crap out on us here, guys, for the climb. But that's just, my SD card filled up essentially, and it's going to stop recording here. Now you see, we went to that. We're back to like a 10% grade. I'm just trying to. It's getting a lot harder to at this point, but every time I do get to those steep pitches, I'm just trying to. Even if I can just get 2 or 3 pedal revolutions with a little higher power, I'm doing that, and I'm easing off when I need to. Again, just trying to focus on my mantra. Okay, guys, there you have it. The screen, at that point, my SD card did fill up. But I'm going to continue on in the climb here. Alright, guys. Now, one thing I wanted to comment on is I've actually gotten some questions recently asking me, why I pedal at such a slow cadence. A lot of guys say, isn't that grinding? You're grinding too much. But again, guys, I can only comment for myself. But again, what I've noticed in my own personal riding is that by using this, slower cadence, more force production technique in my climbing, I find that it allows me to keep my heart rate, down a little bit, keep my heart rate in check. And that by using more of a force production, slower cadence technique, it just basically allows me to kind of just, I feel better in the effort when I'm kind of going at this, upper 50s, mid to upper 50s cadence. It just, for me, it feels more sustainable. It allows me to put out basically more power and sustain that power longer by using this slower this slower cadence force production technique. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, don't let anybody, talk you into thinking that you have to, be spinning all of the time. There are points in time when I do still, spin a much higher cadence, but there's times when I find a lot of value in this, more force production type of a technique. And for me, it just boils down to allowing to keep my heart rate a little bit more in check. Now I think I'm getting into the final stages of this climb here. I'm going to kind of take you guys, I'm going to basically, I think I fast forwarded here a little bit so you guys don't have to just look at me climbing all the time here. So yeah, I think I'm down to the final stretch, believe, but, so guys, my biggest tip there is just do what's best for you. Okay, I have finished the climb. I finished the climb. I did get my PR. But yeah, guys, when it comes to climbing, experiment, do different cadences. Don't get into one mindset that you always have to do one thing or always have to do this thing. For some people, myself included, it's just easier to kind of do more of a force production technique. So, alright guys, I'm just toweling off. Got my PR, and I'm going to do a little short recap here in a couple of seconds. Alright guys, well thanks for tuning in up the climb. Hope you guys found that informative. Alright guys, it is the morning after my ride, and sorry about that, but my video camera actually stopped recording about 25 minutes into the effort. What happened was I had a 32 gigabyte SD card in the camera, and it filled up during the ride. I thought it would be a big enough card for it to last during the effort, but apparently not. So anyways, just wanted to give you guys kind of a quick rundown on how that last 10 minutes or that last 12, 13 minutes played out. I was starting to feel the fatigue of of the first 20 minutes or so, when I was probably averaging, based off how those first 10 to 12 time segments were going. It looked like I was putting out about 320 to 330 average from my wattage, which is high for me, and it started to wear on me a little bit towards the end. So those pretty much the last that last 15 minutes, let's say, I was just pretty much trying to maintain the pace I had back on January 2nd. I knew if I could just hold that pace, that obviously I would PR, because I was ahead of pace on pretty much like the first 12 to 14 bends. I was ahead of PR pace, so I knew if I could just hang on to my previous pace and not fall off from there, that I would be okay. And I was able to better my time by, I think it was 46 seconds. Looks like I went 38.25. Average power was 315. Gave me a VAM of 16.18. Cadence was at 58, which was the same cadence I had last time when I went 307 watts. But what happened today, because I was fresher on this ride, I was just able to kind of emphasize the downstroke of every pedal stroke. I was emphasizing more on the downstroke, which I have found slightly increases my power if I'm able to, emphasize that downstroke on every revolution. I emphasize on the downstroke, almost like I'm punching down into the ground when I'm riding. Just seems like I generate more power that way. Just something I've noticed in my riding. But anyways, there you have it, guys. My ride up the Alpe Du Zwift, my personal record effort up the Alpe Du Zwift. That's how I accomplished it. That's how I tackled it. I used a more lower cadence approach out of the saddle, which is just something I'm able to do. I'm able to pretty much ride as long as I want to or need to out of the saddle. I do not believe I could have put out that power if I was sitting in the saddle. In fact, I know I could not have put out that power if I was sitting in the saddle. In order for me to hit those kind of numbers, I have to be up out of the saddle, kind of grinding out, so to speak, the lower cadence. So, all right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Hope you guys found this informative, took away a few tips from it, and I'll see you guys in my next vlog.